Alright, so we're here with Sam and his Fudo Yusei deck.
Everyone's been waiting for this deck round for God knows how long, especially after the November of 2009. This isn't exactly up to speed for the current format, but it still has its way in. So we're looking at what comes off as a very high monster count deck, running 2 to 3 junk synchrons, trip Cyber Valley, trip tuningware, 2 to 3 quick draw synchrons, and of course with your arsenal of vaYneqs, BLS, Debris Dragon, Effect Failers, Glow Up Bulb, Gores, your Doppel Warriors, occasional Card Trooper, and an unsynchron. And as we have the following spells to supplement it, because I suck at doing this. It's a bit of a heavier spell deck than most. So what we're looking at is your 2 tunings for your grabs for all your plays, followed up by your 2 Inferno Reckless Summonings for your plus plays. When, yes, this happens sometimes, you either need to Inferno, sometimes Effect Veiler, sometimes your tuningware, mainly tuningware, sometimes Cyber Valley, definitely to Cyber Valley, Doppel Warriors, vaYneqs, as long as you have 2s, it's a hot card. Typical Reborn, typical Heavy Storm, typical Dark Hole, and your card destruction, which, yes, just for all those people who are going to ask, it does get sided out against Dark World as fast as possible. Otherwise, it's with all the plussing you do with this deck, it's usually very helpful. And because of the explosiveness of this, usually taking that -1 on the deck is actually not that bad. Foolish for the obvious plays, the couple up with the Inferno, with the Junk Synchron to put any monster in the graveyard if you need to do it at any time. Typical 1-for-1, because as you've seen, Unknown Synchron, Effect Failure, Glow Up Bulb, Tuningware, Cyber Valleys are all level 1 cards. Avarice, Mind Control for the Synchro plays, in addition to the Cyber Valley pluses. Do it 2 MSTs, because, well, better be 3 in this format, because God knows this deck hates back row. Then we have 3 traps. Simple traps, very simple. Now, this
Mass removals, Mirror Force, Torrential, and you got the Solemn.
This is debatable. I mean, there is a decree variant of it. There is a trap heavy variant of it, in which case you need to lower these. Now, it really just depends on if you want to run decrees, if you want to run these. And keep in mind though, I can go whole games without usually flipping these up just because of these. That doesn't mean I don't need them. They're always there for me when I need options. Like for example, I played James here in a game. I set Mirror Force turn 1, and he beat me down with Tengus and TG Werewolf for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 turns. And then flip it over. Several turns later, I had Quasar, Road Warrior, and a Trishula. And I just flipped it over after you saw my Psalm. It's like I also have Effect Failure and the Gores. Anyway, your extra deck is probably one of the most difficult things to make about this deck. Obligatory Stardust, obligatory Quasar, yeah baby, Quasar. TG Hyper Librarian for the plus plays, Formula, and Junk Warrior. Now this is your typical 3 synchros you use to get out Quasar. However, because of everyone's favorite card, aka mine, Level Leader, you are allowed to use things such as, instead of say, Junk Warrior, Junk Destroyer, Black Rose, Scrap Dragon, VaYneqs, Junk Gardena, or Road Warrior. As soon as you have access to this in your graveyard, and you have a quick draw and or other tuners, you just start abusing this, eating levels off the cards until you finally match it down to 5, and then synchro with them, get a Quasar. Now, one of the most important things, as you guys seen in this format, is having defense, if you will. Not necessarily having a good defense, but something to stand up to, say, Dino Rabbit, Dark Roll, things like that. Junk Gardena. This card is broke as a joke. This thing puts Dino Rabbit in its place. Dino Rabbit cannot get over this. Their biggest monster is a 2400 until they get sorted, in which case it's a 2600. Still not enough to get over Junk Gardena. Junk Gardena is effectively able to switch monsters into attack or defense position, depending on if you're being offensive or defensive. And its second effect, that it never misses the timing because it's an if-win, meaning that it always activates, but you don't have to resolve it. So you can get it when you say Synchro for Trishula, or you get it when you say Synchro for Stardust. Let's see. Other cards are the staple synchros that go in the deck. Trishula, formula play. Junk Warrior for the Junk Synchron Doppel play. Cataster for those annoying light decks. Armory Arm, yes it does happen. There are times when I've Armory Armed Quasar. 5,000 double attacking, all hell breaks loose. And of course you're shooting Quasar for when, shooting Star Dragon for when Quasar leaves the field. There's a lot of ways you can run this deck. And then, side.
Four cards for your side deck.
Oh, no. I have a 15 side deck. I just haven't built it for this new format.
So Nitro, we got a Junk Berserker, Turbo Warrior, and a Drill Warrior.
Junk Berserker sees a lot more play sometimes from coming out of the side against slower decks, as does Nitro Warrior hurts a lot more against spammy decks. Turbo Warrior is very, very good against Monarch decks, as long as you can keep them from soul exchanging it. And Drill Warrior is when you change up the deck into a slower, consistent control variant.
Alright.
Now, favorite plays to make, either Debris, Junk, or Quick Draw.
Really?
With, of course, Infernos.
You don't want to deal with that.
You open up with a hand of such. You can open up with any of these 3 monsters with these 3 cards. You open up with a Junk Synchron, with a Quick Draw, that, and this. As long as your opponent has a face-up and maybe you open up with an MST, cool. You're about to plus on them like nobody's fucking business. So hopefully they don't have an effect there. Maxi, don't necessarily have to worry about it. I mean, it really depends on the deck you're playing. A Max C against and if it's in a Dino Rabbit deck, they can't summon anything over the Quasar. So the most you have to worry about is a Smashing Ground or a Mind Control or something stupid. Let's see. And if you don't open up to anywhere, get Cyber Valley. Start removing your own Cyber Valley, start drawing cards. And you also get Doppel Warrior. Inferno in it, token spam. Go into synchro plays such as this, to this, to
Facing you, and the wall is there.
this. Now, simple question of this is discard Doppel, summon Junk Synchron, Doppel, Inferno, get a second Doppel Warrior. Well, excuse me, yeah. You discard the Doppel with the Quick Draw first. So that's going to be your field. Going to grab into 5. Into, oh, wrong synchro. It's a Librarian. Get 2 tokens. Now you're sitting on 2 tokens. Sync a token, Doppel, and Quick. For this, get no tokens. Draw a card. Then you Road Warrior effect. Special summoning either a Cyber Valley or your Unknown Synchron to Synchro Summon into. As everyone knows, wherever I threw it, I threw it somewhere. James, where did I throw it?
I don't know, what'd you do?
Right here. I feel like a derp. Into the Formula Synchron, drawing 2 cards. Now, from these 4 cards, you draw back into this field and draw 3 more cards. So now you're sitting on 5 cards in hand with this field. Not much your opponent's going to do except for wasting big monsters. There's a lot this deck can do, but the main problem, and by far the biggest problem for this deck, is back row. If you can overcome the problem that back row presents to this deck, then the explosiveness from it doesn't really matter. Excuse me, the explosiveness is so potentially large, is that even if your opponent max sees or has an infinitely large Tragodia, because of the arsenal of the extra deck, and because of shooting Quasar Dragon, it's not really an issue. I hope you've all enjoyed this deck profile, and I'll have this uploaded on both of our channels here shortly.
Alright, so what's your worst matchup?
Worst matchup?
Yeah.
That's really, I want to say Defissure Rabbit, but if they don't open up the nuts, or, you know, if they go first and get their nuts, then yeah, I mean, it's going to be very difficult. They're going to have a Defissure with a Logia play or a Dolka. I mean, Dolka's less as annoying than Logia, but if they don't open up with a defissure, then I can still make all these plays, and I'll force them to eventually get rid of the log gate. I'm either going to have a smashing sided in, or going to drop a dark hole ASAP. And as soon as that happens, then it's good for me, because then they don't get to Inferno or anything at all. Let's see, Dark World presents a bit of an issue, but not so much that it's not impossible to deal with. I mean, they discard, which is fine. My effect fillers don't really do much unless they're running Ravens, but the 2700 monster isn't really an issue when the average of my beat sticks here are 28 and higher, or just have destruction effects.
Alright, anything else you have to say?
This is the older deck. I haven't put in Max C's, which would really help this deck, or a third MST. I mean, the newer deck list will probably consist of 1 to 2 Max C's, along with several other changes in regards to fairies, wind up shaving. Let's see, Evils due to the Jash, Dark Worlds, TG Stun, if that's still a problem then, and Insectoids, everyone's favorite magic, though Effect Veiler seems to do the trick on that when it can.
Alright.
Anything other questions for me, James?
Not at the moment.
Everything's pretty covered?
Yep.
Alright,
thanks Sam.
Signing off, YouTube. Quasar! Rawr!
And all the other cards under him.
Yeah.
Here at the store.